welcome. As Cassie mentioned in the intro, I'm a registered dietitian. I work with Ochsner Health System, so we're a large hospital system here in the South. My job is actually at Ochsner Fitness Center, and I've been there for about 18 years. Those of y'all who are from here might know it as Elmwood Fitness Center. About a year ago, we rebranded it to Ochsner Fitness Center. And so one of the things that for the past 18 years, I've worked a lot with clients, a lot with the wellness-based clients. So we are part of the hospital system. We have our dietitians in the hospital who do a lot, our clinical nutrition, a lot of our inpatient, outpatient nutrition. So our fitness center has been a lot of the wellness. And so it's a lot of weight loss, whether it's from 5 pounds to 205 pounds, blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, as well as some sports performance and kind of the general spectrum. So over the years, as we're working with clients, one of the big challenges, of course, is dining out. And no matter where you are in the country, that's going to be a big challenge. Here in New Orleans, it seemed like a lot of our clients, going out to eat wasn't just a special event. It's not just once a week. And again, no matter where we are in the country, a lot of us, we've got both, if we have a family unit, a lot of times the parents are all working. We don't have someone that's always going to be preparing meals. A lot of times it's kind of catch as catch can. If we're single, if we're in a family, whatever it is, a lot of times going out to eat is just the norm. It's not something that's a special occasion. Because when it is something like you go to this place once a year, or this is the once a month that you go out to eat, do what you want to do. Just enjoy it because that is that special event. But when it's the norm and day out, you've got to really kind of figure out what we're going to do about it. So what I'll be kind of layering in together today is sharing with y'all about Eat Fit. We have an app that I want to tell y'all about some of the resources in it. It's something that can benefit you even if you're not here in New Orleans. It kind of spans and it's stuff that you can download from there to use wherever you are. And then the core principles that we use for Eat Fit are what I would say for dining out anyway. So what we do with Eat Fit, we started with Eat Fit NOLA. We have about 100 restaurants here in New Orleans that are our Eat Fit partners now. And what that means is our dietitians work with those restaurants. We work with them to put foods on the menu and dishes on the menu that are actually things that we would be guiding our clients to eat. And that's what we'll cover today of what are those parameters, what does that look like? And so what does kind of healthy mean? So it's been really fun because we're able to work with those chefs to adjust those restaurant dishes. Then they put the little seal on the menu that says Eat Fit. And then what it is, our criteria is basically low sodium, low animal fats, healthy plant-based fats. It's not a low-fat diet by any means, or low-fat menu items by any means. But low animal fats, low sodium, heavy on the produce, lots of vegetables, fruits, lean proteins, no white carbs. And we do that because restaurants, there's not a lot of, just a little bit with restaurants. If you're getting rice or pasta, you're getting this. So we said, you know what, we're going to say nothing white. If it's going to be a starch going on the plate, it's got to be whole grain. So that's kind of our criteria, less than a teaspoon worth of added sugar. So that's kind of what we said, okay, if we were going to say in a perfect world, what do we want nutritionally? This is it. What we love about Eat Fit is just like real life. Same with us dining out. You don't have to choose it. We're not taking stuff away. So wherever we are and however we are, kind of how special of an event it is that we're going someplace, or if it's kind of that day in, day out, it's just like us with our normal life. We may choose to order something really nutritious, or we may be like, yeah, I know I could do that, but I kind of want to splurge and have this. And so I would say that's kind of part of how we operate under real life anyway, and that's what we're doing with Eat Fit. Those of y'all who are from here, I'll kind of just give y'all a quick update. We've got Eat Fit VR that we launched in Baton Rouge, North Shore, and Bayou, so Eat Fit's in all those regions. We just found out, we haven't been able to give a public announcement, but we found out just a week ago we got a grant, a 3-year grant to expand Eat Fit throughout the state. So those of y'all who are from here, we're really excited about that. So it's a nonprofit. So those of y'all who aren't here, we don't charge restaurants, it's totally free. So that's why we're so excited to be able to have that growth and kind of help spread. So one thing that I will share with y'all too, actually I haven't clicked any of these slides, sorry. This is one of our dishes at the Superdome. So this is barbecue shrimp and grits. Those of y'all who are from here would be like, well, grits are white, but it's actually pureed cauliflower. So that's something that, some of the things I was telling y'all about, again, with Eat Fit are things that we can layer into our own things at home. Pureed cauliflower, we know that's everywhere. And now there's so many ways to do it, make it easy. You can buy cauliflower rice, fresh or frozen in the grocery store, roast it, or just do it with cauliflower, puree it, and that's what you get. And so with Eat Fit, I told you a little bit already about who we are, what we do. Restaurants, convenience stores, grocery stores, all of these places, we work with them to put healthy items in there. A lot of the places like this, though, we already know that there's going to be items that we can choose, but we're trying to get more and more of it. And the great thing is, from airports to gas stations, I think all of us know that we're starting to see more of those items in there. Unfortunately, a lot of times they're kind of perceived as nutritious. They're not really nutritious, but at least places are trying because they know they've gotten the message from all of us. We want to try to have more of those healthful options. This is what I kind of talked about here. This is kind of the stats that I just mentioned that we go through as far as what the criteria is. It's also, as dietitians within our fitness center, that's what we explain to clients. So that was kind of what I told y'all. This is what I want to show y'all, the app. Downloading the app is free. If you type in Eat Fit NOLA into the App Store, you'll download it. You may be like, I'm from Charleston. I'm not going to download the NOLA app. Here's what it's got on it. We have shopping guides, and we have brand-specific shopping guides. So instead of just things like, oh, get whole wheat bread or crackers, we have in there the brand of whole wheat bread, the brand of whole grain crackers. We have hundreds of recipes in here that our Eat Fit team has developed, from that barbecue shrimp and grits y'all saw in that front picture to a high-protein Greek yogurt, hot spinach and artichoke dip, little chocolate truffles, all types of stuff, little protein truffles. So we have all types of really great recipes in there that are Eat Fit approved that meet that criteria that we just talked about. So it's just a really great resource. If someone's vegan, we do have a vegan sports nutrition plan in there. So we try to just make that a really great community resource for people. Shopping list, I told you that. So this is kind of a snapshot of what it looks like too. So we've just, again, it's about 7 pages worth of just really good items in there. And it could be any kind of store. You don't have to be locked into just one store. So dining out wherever you are. So if you're like, all right, I'm here visiting, but I'm not going to be staying here. I'm going back home. These are, and I think we only have 15 minutes per person. I might have already used almost half of that. But a lot of the stuff I would say with dining out and dining out Eat Fit style, this is stuff y'all know. It's stuff y'all have heard. How many times have you heard, like, go to a restaurant and ask for half your stuff to be boxed up first? It's kind of, we always hear that. How many of y'all do that? That's impressive. That's really impressive. I always kind of want to see what I'm getting before I ask them to box up half of it. I want to see how much is coming out, you know. One of the things that I find can be a drawback to that, it depends on the restaurant. Because sometimes it's not a whole lot of protein you're getting in the first place. And if we're boxing up half of it, then you're going to find yourself like rummaging through your to-go box as you're there. But I think that is, there's so many different strategies, and the strategies I'm going to cover today, y'all probably have heard all of them. But I think it always helps us to hear them again. I also think one of the biggest things that I want to have as a take-home is whatever you're choosing and whatever you're kind of doing that negotiation of, well, I'm not going to have this because this is what I really love. This is what's worth it. The biggest takeaway I want to have for y'all is to not have that guilt associated with it. And I think that's a really hard thing a lot of times for some of us. We have a lot of the shoulds that are in our head. Or if those shoulds, or should you be eating that, or is that on your plan, or is that what you were planning to order? If that's not in our head, sometimes it's on the face of the person across from us at the table. Sometimes it's in, like, you know, someone might even say it. So it can be a lot of these sabotages that happen to us, whether it's our own brains doing that work, or whether it's the person we're with, or, you know, the things that can be associated with it. So I'd say the biggest takeaways I would say is, when we're thinking of dining out, thinking of it as the experience that it is to be enjoyed, not something to be fearful of or guilty of. So I think that would kind of be my biggest takeaway. So when we're looking at what is this Eat Fit approach, so when we're looking at the menu, assess the menu ahead of time. What does this look like? And so the reason I call this also the Eat Fit approach, when we're working with restaurants, they'll say, oh, I don't have anything that could fit Eat Fit. You probably do. Every once in a while there's restaurants that don't, that we're like, they don't have anything except a deep fryer in their restaurant. But there's very few times that we look at a restaurant menu and we say, yeah, there's nothing. There might not be things that are served all together that would be Eat Fit, but when we kind of mix and match a few things, we can cobble something together. And that's actually how we decided to do it, because as dietitians, we're out all the time at restaurants, dining and eating healthy, and I kind of have this with this on the side, with this, with this. And so my husband was like, you need to do something to put this on the menu at these restaurants. so that the work is done for people. So that was kind of what our goal was. So our first thing is we assess the menu. What are we starting with? So looking through and seeing what are those protein options. A lot of times if I'm looking at a menu and there's things like sandwiches, I know they're almost never going to be on a whole grain bread, and a lot of times it's a really bread-heavy sandwich or a panini or something like that. So I'll go through what do the salads look like, but salads, as we learned with Eat Fit especially, man, even the salads that read really healthfully, it is incredible to us the sodium, the sugar, and the calories that are in a lot of these. It might be an 1,800 calorie salad, but if you're reading it, you're like, kale, almonds, avocado, you're like, this is awesome. When we're doing the numbers, it's discouraging even to us. So I would say, just be careful with that as you're looking at the salads. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll go straight to what are our proteins. Is it chicken? Is it fish? Is it a lean beef? Is it a pork? What is it? And then if these salads didn't have any protein on it, maybe we'll say, hey, can you add some of the protein to this? So assessing the menu first to see what our options are. If you can do it ahead of time online, depending on what restaurant you're going to, go online, look at their menu. They're not, a lot of smaller restaurants, mom and pop restaurants, probably won't have their menu online. If they do, a lot of times it's not the current menu, but it'll still give you an idea of what they have. Doing it online, the reason I say that ahead of time, when you're sitting there in the restaurant, my husband did it last night, he started pointing at something that went out to this guy's, and then we're staring at these other people eating their dinner because we're eyeing up what he's got. It can be really tempting once we sit in there and we start to see all these platters of stuff going by. If we look online and kind of get our thoughts together of what's going to be the best choice for kind of what we're planning for that meal to be, that's going to be ideal. So assessing it ahead of time, negotiating what's really worth it to you. So how many people would say, oh man, desserts are my thing? The hands are like this, but I see y'all. How many bread is your thing? Okay, bread's my thing. I could take or leave a dessert, but the bread basket, I want to get in it. Like, and you just want to, like, especially when it's warm. So negotiate, what is your thing? Is it bread? Is it the chips that come out? Is it rice or pasta, the starchy side dish? If they've got some creamy risotto, or is it the dessert? Pick what your thing is that's your extra. First of all, if it's just a Tuesday night out, you may say, this is one of those meals I just really want to kind of keep it really in check. But if it's a celebration, or if it's a Saturday night, or if it's a special restaurant that you don't usually get to go to, the way that I usually suggest to negotiate is picking what's that one extra. And looking at those things as all kind of under the same umbrella. If it's the bready stuff, the starchy sides, the desserts, kind of thinking of those as all, none of those are particularly what we would call nutritious. So making our center of our meal being our lean proteins, our vegetables, our healthy oils and stuff like that, and then picking what's worth it to us. And then negotiating that, having that emphasis though on those vegetables, lean proteins, healthy fats, picking what's worth it, but that's where that being guilt-free about it really comes in. Especially again, if it's our own guilt or feeling like I shouldn't have this, or it's the person across the table who maybe I've had a lot of conversations about weight and weight struggles, and they're looking at you going, I thought you weren't going to have X, Y, Z. You know the choices you just made to kind of negotiate and how you're fitting that in, but we don't need to explain it to anybody else. So I'd also encourage you, if that's something that happens, have those conversations before you go out, so it's not disrupting or disturbing or kind of putting like a funk over that dinner. So having a little bit of those conversations before you even sit down at that restaurant. I sometimes don't use the slides to guide, and then I realize that I've got a lot of stuff to talk about. If you're going to someone's house, or kind of making Eat Fit your own, if you're going somewhere, always bring something, of course. But when you're going out to restaurants, do what you need to do to kind of keep things in check for you. So if the bread being there is just way too tempting, ask them not to bring it to the table. If you're in a Mexican restaurant, what a lot of them will do is they'll do something like sliced cucumbers instead of chips. A lot of times they'll sprinkle it with whatever kind of seasoning. You could keep that, leave that, whatever. But asking for just something a little extra like that brought out instead of the chips, maybe to go with your salsa. Then you've still got kind of something in front of you. Depending on who you're with, you may not want to say don't bring the bread to the table, but if you're with someone that you're close enough with, it might be an easy thing to ask. Sauce on the side, that's an easy request, or tell them no sauce at all. Or if you see that whatever this fish is you love, this sounds delicious, but it's got this really heavy creamy sauce, if you see a little bit of a lighter sauce on that steak, ask them, can they put it on there? So take ownership of that menu. Very rarely are restaurants now not going to make that change for us. Every once in a while you might get a chef that's a real stubborn guy and doesn't want to do it, but restaurants now are bending over backwards to be accommodating to their guests. And so there's almost always you're going to be able to kind of, can I get this on the side or this with this? And then when it comes to side orders, swapping it out. So again, if that creamy risotto is your thing and that's the whole reason why you went to that restaurant, get it, that's what comes with it. But if it comes with potatoes or pasta or rice or whatever it is, tell them to mix that and then bring you extra vegetables. And even if you didn't see the vegetables with that, if you see those sauteed spinach anywhere else on the menu, they can bring it to you with that. So just take an ownership and kind of, that's where reading the menu ahead of time, if we can, kind of helps, because then you get that organized even before you go. But I think it's one of those things that we have to be confident in what we're asking, and polite, but not being afraid to ask those things and not being afraid to take ownership of that. So then finally, like I said, taking ownership of that menu, asking questions. That is something that a lot of times restaurants are trying to be really creative with menus. They're really pretty. I was talking with the restaurant yesterday about the menu and how they're going to put Eat Fit on it, and I thought their menu layout looked really sharp. It was a cute, clean design, and they said, oh, we really want to simplify it. We want fewer words. And I thought, how are they going to have even any menu descriptions? Well, they really aren't. So a lot of restaurants that are trying to get more kind of, I guess, trendy, they're over kind of that super simplicity type thing. There's not a lot of information on it. So we've got to ask questions. And even when there is a lot of information, there might be certain things that we're not sure. Is that creamy? Is that fried? Does crispy mean it's toasted, or does it mean it's deep fried? So there's a lot of times just ask questions and don't be afraid to be like that person. Don't hesitate to ask special requests, and then always, like we said, whatever you're making those choices to do, especially if you've thought about it, you may have negotiated things earlier in your day to kind of help offset the fact that this dinner might be a little bit heavier than usual. Go into it, have whatever conversations you need to have with those people close to you if needed, but don't have that guilt and just think you're there to enjoy it, and that's the biggest burden that lifted from us. Because if we're going in, we're going to have these delicious foods, but then we're feeling guilty all through it, it's not even worth it. So I think those are kind of my biggest takeaways, I would say, for dining out. For those of y'all who are here, or even if you're not, I would say follow us on social media. We do stuff like this. Our leadership at the hospital is like, really? Like, that's Tuesday? That was us actually. There's we're at Oshner Fitness Center. There's several Oshner Fitness Centers around town. But for those of y'all who are just in town, there's a group called Sweat Social. And they do outdoor workouts around the city, and especially for people who are just visiting the city. So that was on the Mississippi River. So Sweat Social, her name was Rupa. I'm blanking on her last name, but if you look online, you can see it. If she has a workout tomorrow morning or something, it's always just this really pretty venue. And then lastly, we've got this, so Eat Fit NOLA, and then mine is for Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We've always got recipes, information. It's Molly Kimball, RD. Let's stick around for questions.
Okay, so I get to have a really fun topic today. I got excited about putting this presentation together for you all. Potlucks to parties, navigating social gatherings. And so I wanted to start out with a fun little definition of what is a potluck anyway. I really like this first one. So it's a situation in which one must take a chance that whatever's available will prove to be good or acceptable. So I thought that was a perfect definition of what we find, especially when, for some of the post-op patients or for anyone who's working on managing their weight. So taking a chance. So, like Molly said, there's a lot of tried and true things that we talk to people about, and I agree a lot of that is, oh yeah, I know I'm supposed to do that, but how many of us are actually doing that? But so these are kind of the standard, survey your options, pick your protein first, load up on your veggies, eat a normal that day so that you don't go crazy at the party, small plates, be choosy, bring your own thing, whatever that may be, that you can get excited about. Linger around and be the last in line. So some of the really popular, not so healthy for you stuff might be gone by your turn. Don't drink your calories, chew gum when you're done eating. Don't hang around the table, kind of move yourself physically across the room. And then keep that food dialogue to yourself so the whole night doesn't just become about talking about food and eating and weight and health. Keeping your hands busy. I'm one that I need to always have something in my hands, and if it's not holding, a water or maybe wine, I get into trouble. So staying busy, because again, it's about the social part. So I figured that was pretty simple, and that's not what I wanted to talk about. So I thought tried and true, but what about you? So I took the stance today of looking at the different kind of general types of eaters that we might be, and strategize on what you could do at either a potluck or a party or some kind of a social gathering. So consider your type, and I don't mean to generalize or put you in a group. So I tried really hard to have appropriate language, because if you guys know me, I'm the word police at work and in presentations too. So hopefully none of these titles offend. So for those of us who like to stand out, this is the person who wants to be the life of the party. They want to be talking about what they're doing, what types of eating habits they are excited about. So announce your recipe trips. You made a swap to a recipe, showcase it. Bring an old favorite and bring that recipe. Talk about it. That's something that would give you kind of the attention that you might be craving at an event. Add pizzazz with different sauces and garnishes and spices, and really make your dish kind of, I guess this would be the person who wants to win the potluck if there were a prize. Make it visually appealing, and then of course talk excessively about what it is that you brought and what new eating habits that you are following to everyone else, right? So that's kind of a silly way to say, this is an event where you get to kind of have it be about you a little bit, right? It's not everybody. Some like to stay under the radar. So for this person, you a lot of times at potlucks, you have categories of food. So pick something that's in your comfort zone, make it local, fresh, or seasonal. Bring your own faithful. A lot of people have their signature dish that everybody loves, and it's good, so do that. We're not gonna, be talking about that too much, but it's gonna be good. I say you're suddenly sensitive, so if you know that you're at a potluck where there's going to be a lot of high calorie, high fat, high heavy ingredients in the foods, and you don't really want to go that route. For the person who wants to stay under the radar and not announce, like, I'm trying to eat healthy, I'm eating this way, I just had surgery. A lot of patients don't tell people they've had surgery. So you are suddenly sensitive. You are, and I mean, you have a food allergy, you have gluten sensitivity, right? Nobody knows your medical history, make it up. You have that today, so no one will ask any questions, right? Sample, a few different things. A lot of my patients tell me they don't want to stand out and that they're only, eating one healthy thing, and everybody's going to kind of notice what they're taking. So take a few things, but you don't have to finish them all. And then minimize talking about your eating choices, weight, and the healthiness of food. So again, if you're the one who doesn't want everyone to know what type of eating pattern you're following, these are some things you might do. If you're someone who's externally cued, so you tend to overeat in response to things in your environment. The smells, the tastes, the visuals make you hungry. A lot of my patients say the commercials in the nighttime kind of get you thinking about food. You're one who overeats maybe in times of celebration. And happy emotions prompt you to want to eat more, and you feel less restriction, and that may be a good thing, but those are times that might be eating more. You adapt to the people that you're around. I'm definitely an external, happy, celebrating type of an eater. So consider these strategies. Just being honest with your own cues, knowing what type of an eater you are, knowing that in these situations, this is how you typically react. Start paying attention to your internal experience and do the kind of mindful eating strategies that you may have talked about. Arranging the tables, so if you can help, if it's your party, arranging the tables with your lean protein and your veggies first, so that that's what you're seeing. Kind of some of those mindless eating, like Brian Wansink tips, I think would help here if you're really trying to go for the healthier foods first, because you know that once you see everything, you're gonna pick up on that. So I wouldn't do the whole lap around the room and see all your options. I'd say, I've got to have these things, so let me go straight for them so I don't get excited by everything else. And then physically, don't be by the table if this is the type of eater that you are. And again, thinking through your normal response and what you do and don't like about that, and maybe what you might do differently. If you're the party animal, eating is fun when you're around other people. You're an energized extrovert with tendencies to do what the group does, and being around others kind of reduces your inhibitions. Alcohol might celebrate this. I guess I'm this too. I may be all of these. So consider these strategies. Take over some of the party planning. So, you know the host of the party or the potluck. Has anybody ever used Sign Up Genius? It's kind of a nice organizing thing. Our neighborhood tends to use that when they do parties, and that's great. But I'm sure the host would appreciate having you take over some of the management of the party. So that's a way that you can kind of be the center of attention or be the party planner, if that's your thing, in a non-food type of a way. So be the host the party, or help the host with hosting. Limit the booze, because the inhibitions are likely to fade when you're drinking. Eating your main meal, I'd say prior to the fun or prior to the rush of people. So you kind of preloading on your main part of the meal so that you're able to mingle and do the social stuff, but also have some of the fun foods as well once your main meal is in you. If you're the chronically dieting, restricting type, restrictions often lead to maybe overeating later on. Someone who's this type is always using those words like, I was good at the party, I deserve this. You also might be someone who's overthinking, over-planning, and obsessing about food and talking about it a lot leading up to it while you're there. You might be someone who, like many, are internalizing kind of the diet culture, food rules, and what you're supposed to eat. I see a few people who were at my table yesterday. We talked a little bit about this, but some of the language that we use that potentially is not helpful, even in surgery programs. So if you're that type, consider the strategies of kind of exploring what hungry feels like. And I know we talk a lot about the fear of hunger and not wanting to be hungry. And when my patients who have surgery are super excited once they don't feel hunger, but probably ideally hunger has a purpose. And instead of trying to suppress it all the time, really just being at peace with what that feels like and knowing how to respond to it. So that's an exercise, I think, maybe not at the party would be the first time to do that, but that's something that you should think about. And then healthy isn't about restriction, punishment, and guilt. I think really the intuitive eating type approach would be something that liberates patients who are, or people who are in that chronic diet mentality. So at the party, choosing kind of your meaningful favorite or signature dish, the special seasonal items that are available, when it's something that's different and new, like have that be the thing that you get excited about. Ditch the rules and kind of consider those intuitive eating practices, and then don't judge yourself if you didn't stick to your rigid eating plan that's been coded in your brain and repeated time after time. If you're impulsive, or if you tend to be impulsive, you're prone to eating some of everything. You don't have a plan ahead of time, you get bored with long meal preparations, your kind of instant gratification tendencies win most of the time, and then you fear missing out if you don't try everything that people brought. So if that's you, you can consider ahead of time deciding, I'm going to have one small plate and I'm going to take one trip. Don't, restrict yourself to certain types, but have variety in your choices, but you're putting the limit maybe just on the plate and the volume. Take just a taste if more choices makes you feel like you're getting, more out of it, if that's more important than volume. And then recognizing that at a potluck, the options might be endless. So there has to be some sort of you can't have one bite of everything if there's 30 people who brought a dish. So that, I think, for the people who are not really the planning ahead type and are kind of impulsive, might be a way to work. Okay, so I also, like Molly, talk about pregame, but here your pre-gaming is a self-assessment. So preparation is about more than just the food. I think new recipes can be really fun. I know in our patients, they're always looking for recipes, and it's really one of the things that is exciting about other people posting recipes. They're always looking for us to do it in our program. I'm like, you don't want us to create recipes. There are creative, real chefs and people out on Instagram and Pinterest who are doing that. So there's tons of options when it comes to recipes these days. But that is something that I think can be fun when you're talking about a party. And people like to stand out. So that's where you can use your Instagram and Pinterest to find something fun. I just put some ideas here, pulse it up. I think pulses and beans are popular these days, which is good for patients trying to lose weight because they're filling and fibrous and full of protein. Some different things you could do with those. Holy whole grains, so you could do some of the different whole grains that have been popular. A lot of those not just have fiber, but some have some protein as well. Meat your meat, so little mini meatballs, chicken and steak skewers. Sardines are popular now, and lean beef is coming back. Step up your salads. There's lots of really cool salad recipes out there that are more than just the cucumber and tomato ones that my mother-in-law always has around. And then vital veggies. There's always a new veggie of the year, right, that comes out, and so having that at a potluck can sort of make it fun and trendy. And then no, just no. There's just some things, right? So don't do for a potluck or a party a painfully long or complicated preparation. Don't bring something that's going to take up all the space in the fridge or that's going to need, all the different cooking methods once you get to someone's house. Non-homemade items, so that sort of bland and dried out veggie tray, I'm not a fan of that. I mean, if that works for you, I guess you can have it. And plain and boring stuff, that's probably not what you want to highlight at a party or a potluck. And if you're attending one, that's not what you're going to pick. That's kind of your usual stuff that you have all the time. Anything that requires too much preparation, assembly, and then anything that requires too much explanation, right? Again, if you're someone who wants to stay under the radar, don't bring something that needs like a disclaimer and it's got this and this. And, if you just want to have it stand for itself and not need a card that explains what it is. Okay, so this is a topic I love, but talking about some of the off-putting questions that people can have when you're visibly making food choices that they feel the need to comment on. So why don't you just have a taste of my grandma's favorite pie? It's made with love. You gotta try it. It's to die for. Just a taste. One bite won't kill you. Ever since you lost weight, you're no fun anymore. So some of those, right? You guys probably have a whole list of other ones that people say. And so here's some kind of answers. I think we could probably talk about this longer. My quote on the right, for those who were at our table yesterday, this is what I was referring to. I really think this quote applies to certain patients of mine. So 99% is and 100% is a breeze. Meaning, it is very easy for certain people to be all or nothing. Like, I don't eat that anymore. I don't do that. For certain people, that is really the way to go, because once you add that, take away that 1%, then it's well, I guess I could have a bite. Like, that slippery slope is really difficult. So I see patients on either side of this where you can really be a moderate person. My mother was someone who, she can have just a taste of almost anything delicious and amazing, but thinks everyone else can too, and we just can't. So I'm not either. If I'm trying to stick to something, I have to be all or nothing with it. And so if you're someone who's like that, I think that's a good rule. But if you're someone who's not, this is again part of, you have to assess your own eating style. You can't just say, I'm never going to have that again, if you know that's not the type of person that you are. So a defense to some of those questions. I'm a really picky eater. That works. You don't have to explain what that means. You are a picky eater if you're trying to be healthy. I know people usually bring heavy stuff to a potluck. I thought I'd bring something to lighten it up. I am still fun. Actually, I've never felt better, and now I enjoy moving more than I care about eating. I know myself, and I don't do well with that just one. Skipping it entirely tends to work better for me. So kind of whatever, again, type of person you are, whether you want to take the route of, I would probably take the aggressive, sarcastic, screw you kind of a comment, but I know living in Charleston that a lot of my peers are not so New Yorkish in their replies. So you got to sort of see what works for you. And then checking in with yourself. Are you kind of this one bite's okay, all in moderation type? Do you find that one bite's 20 bites, and if you have one, you finish it off? You've got to sort of think about what type of eater you are. Do certain types of foods that you, in your own, dialogue have classified as off limits or bad or whatever kind of diet culture words you've internalized, do those tempt you, or are those speaking to you more when you're out of your comfort zone, or when you're hungry, or when you've gone unprepared? Or do you give yourself permission to eat at a special occasion what you want and not feel that guilt? I think That's a big component of it. So thinking about that before you enter some sort of environment where you're not 100% in control of the food. And then in the end, thinking about what's in it for you. Why are you going? Are you going to catch up with your friends, meet new people? Are you dating or looking for love? Relaxing, winding down, dancing, just going for casual banter or some deep conversation? Or is it a holiday or a tradition? So all of those different situations would impact maybe the strategy that you want to stick with for this event. So, in the end, when in doubt, the number one rule we dietitians follow at a dinner party is you are not a dietitian tonight. So, dietitians do not want to be known by your job when you're at a party, because then everyone either says, hey, can I get a meal plan? Or, is this healthy? Should I eat this? What's the best diet to follow? So I'd imagine being either a post-op patient or someone who's actively, trying to follow a eating pattern to lose weight, people will ask you those questions and sort of hone in on that as your thing. And you are not just your surgery, you are not just your eating habits. Go for all the other stuff that we do to socialize. So enjoy the occasion, get into the party spirit, bring something that matches with where you're at in your relationship with food, and consider ahead of time how you might react to some of these off-putting comments that might come your way. That's it. Thank you.
Fascinating, great tips as always. I couldn't help as I was sitting here listening to think about my life and all of your lives and wonder, as you said, we do hear these tips, so what is that barrier for each of us? I've heard tell them to leave the bread basket away at the restaurant my entire life, and never once have I done it because I love the bread.
Actually, last night when we went out to eat, you were trying to get it to come sooner.
I was looking for the bread. It's like, where is the bread?
But I have to interject. I don't want to go to the restaurant my husband wants to go to tonight because they don't have bread in the building. He was like, maybe we bring our own.
That was part of Cassie's criteria.
Great. Well, that brings up an interesting point too. I'll get to it in a second about bringing your own. That's funny, but I think a common theme that I'm hearing throughout all of the presentations over the last 2 days now is there's no one approach, right? And as frustrating as that can be for you to hear, because a lot of us do want the one approach. Tell me the reason. I can relate, as you said, to not admitting to being a dietitian. I tell you, when I fly and somebody asks me what I do for a living, I never say I'm a dietitian. Sales, healthcare, I'll just say anything to not say that I'm a dietitian because I don't want to get into this long conversation. But there isn't one approach, and I actually think that should be really freeing for all of us. But what it means is you have to know yourself, and that's the kicker, and I think that can be a little scary. But I think being conscious, knowing who you are, and knowing what works for you, that's what we need to focus on when we're talking about food and nutrition and lifestyle. Because if we don't understand how we respond and how we work, none of this is going to make sense to us, right? So, all that being said, I just think, these common themes, take-home messages for me of these last 2 days. There's no one approach. Be conscious, know who you are, understand you will change as time goes on. As my mom always used to tell me growing up, the only thing constant is change. So understand things will change, you will change, and that's okay. But to be able to reconnect with yourself and recenter and know what works for you in that moment, in that day, in that minute, those are the strategies that we need. So onto that too, I always love the positive thinking messages that we've been hearing throughout these last few days. So now we'll go on to renovate your plate, talking about my favorite thing. As I said, food. I truly do love food. That's why I became a dietitian, because I like food. I like to eat. I like all of it. And we're going to talk through it. We're going to talk through recipes today and different meal ideas. I love food trends. Anyone else love food trends? I think they're so fun. It's so fun to see what's a new thing. I'm kind of always waiting. I feel like we haven't had one in a while. And the avocado toast has never gone away from me, and I don't think it ever will. That's a trend that's going to stay in my bank for a long time, I think. So before we talk about food, I want to introduce you to my new beautiful blended family. So this is my Brady Bunch. And the reason I wanted to introduce you to them is not to show you how cute we all are, but I do think we're cute. This is in San Diego over 4th of July.
we're all walking, and of course you have the dad in the front and the mom in the back putting all of our chickens together because they'll get lost if we leave them. There's so many of us at this point. But the reason I want to introduce you to them is because there's a lot of stuff going on in our household that we have to think about with food due to people's food allergies and intolerances. So Nick cannot eat dairy, wheat, soy, melons, peppers, and additional raw veggies. And when I say he can't eat peppers, he will go into anaphylactic shock if he has a green pepper or a red pepper. So when we're out at a restaurant and he says, can I have a bite of that? I've learned now that I have to be very cautious with like, what's in this egg salad that I'm eating or something before I allow him to take a bite. Cassie, myself, iron stomach. Got this like, I can eat whatever I want, whenever I want, no problems, no issues. So it's a change for me to be around all these people who are so sensitive or allergic. Ellie, the oldest, is allergic to gluten, dairy, melons, citrus, walnuts, and pine nuts. Emma is apples, interesting, right? Melons and citrus. Avery is shellfish and peanuts. Ava is gluten, dairy, melons, and citrus. Presley is shellfish, peanuts, raw carrots, and bananas. Okay? So imagine dinner at our house. I literally made them. I joke with them all the time. I'm like, I'm going to tattoo on your forehead what you cannot have because I can't keep it straight. So I love cooking. I love being creative with meals, and I share this with you because I can relate to any type of food allergy, intolerance, or preference that you have. And I've had to get really creative over the last few months with our cooking and with our eating strategies. So I'm going to share some of our favorite tips and tricks with you. And the reason I thought about the bread, when you said that, Molly, is that Nick, often, they have so many good gluten-free products now. I don't know if anybody eats gluten-free for various reasons, but have you tried some of the gluten-free products now, like in this year, 2017? There are actually some really good ones compared to how they used to be when they were first launching in the market a few years ago. So Nick will bring his gluten-free bread with us when we go out for a burger or something, and he'll just order his burger without a bun, and he'll put his gluten-free bread with it. So that is something, we're always carrying gluten-free bread in my purse, so it's funny when you said that. So when it comes down to it, I think being basic when it comes to food is a good thing. You know, we say now, like, don't be basic, oh, that's so basic, but when it comes to eating, it's good. Let's build our plates around produce, protein, and yummies. When I say yummies, I mean flavor. So we want, our bodies and our mouths want like crunch and different textures throughout a meal. So have you ever had a meal that's like all white and mushy? So I don't even know what a white mushy protein would be besides fish, and I'm gonna put it with mashed potatoes, so that sounds really disgusting. But when you eat like an all bland, mushy food, that's not as satisfying to you as when there's color on the plate and when there's other herbs and spices or crunchy things like nuts or different fresh herbs on top of it. So we're always trying to get creative with our yummies, and that again means just building in some added flavor or some added texture and color too. And think of added sugars and refined grains as treats. That's a really good way to treat any basic meal that you're going for. Okay, so when we're talking about any plate renovation, you're talking about a plate, any meal should have protein, produce, and something that you enjoy. Here's some of our favorite breakfast ideas. So oatmeal cups is something we've been making for a while now. There's, you guys are going to have access to all the slides starting tomorrow. So the recipe is right here for you. Okay. So it's really easy, but basically we put, and some of us in our household like to eat higher protein. We have different muscle growth goals that we're working on, so we add protein powder to a lot of things just to bump up the protein content. So in those oatmeal cups, it's whole oats, it's eggs, banana, some cinnamon, there's protein powder in there, and you bake it off and you make them into those nice little cups you can see in the background of the picture. We'll freeze those and put them in the pantry like in a Tupperware safe container for up to 3 days, or freeze them and pull them out and fill them up with Greek yogurt and add berries. It's a really easy, quick, on-the-go recipe that most of us can eat. Egg cups are a favorite. I think most of you here by now have been making egg cups, right? Or you can buy them at Starbucks at this point. I know Shelly likes to do that. So you guys, I swear to you, if I fall off this stage, I just look down and it's like right at the edge. Not this way. So egg cups are so easy to make. You don't even need a recipe. You just scramble up a bunch of eggs or whisk up a bunch of eggs in a bowl, put whatever veggies you want in there. I add shredded rotisserie chicken a lot of times if that's at the end of its life. You spray some muffin tins and bake it up at 350 until it's a little bit brown on the top or set. It's not wiggly anymore. Same thing, you can freeze those, wrap them in foil, put them in a Ziploc bag, put them in the freezer, and then you can set them in the refrigerator overnight to defrost them if you think about it, or you can just defrost them right in the microwave. And then protein pancakes. There's 2 different versions of this. So I gave you the one recipe right here that has the protein supplement in it, and that's how we make it sometimes. Has anybody made them with just the eggs and banana yet? Just a few? Are some of you thinking I'm crazy right now? Have you seen it? It's so good. It tastes like banana bread, basically. So all you have to do, like if I'm making it just for myself, 2 eggs, whisk them up, half a banana, mush it up, combine that, get a skillet out, some coconut oil or whatever you want to use, fry it. They're a little hard to turn at first, so you just got to get used to that. And that's it. They're ready to go and so delicious. So quick and easy, full of, again, anytime we can add in fruits and vegetables to our meals, especially, I don't like to say sneak them in, just add them in to enhance it. We like to do that. So lunch, cauliflower rice. I've heard this mentioned several times now, and I have never, self-admittingly, actually made cauliflower rice. Have you guys done this? I mean, that is a process. No time for that. You can buy cauliflower rice at Walmart these days. So, frozen section, just look around. And this is my biggest tip to everybody, and myself included. Like sometimes I get in a rut with food. I'm like, oh, I'm sick of eating this. What am I going to do? I give myself an hour or so, put on some music, and I go to the grocery store, and I go against the standard dietitian advice, which is shop the perimeter, and I go up and down every single aisle. Because now grocery stores have so many different options that you won't see if you don't walk up and down. So I'll put on my music and I'll go walk up and down, and that's when I found my cauliflower rice in the frozen section, discovered, hey, I can finally use this now because I'm never going to sit there and grate up an entire head of cauliflower. That broccoli slaw that's on the left, we like quick and easy lunches in our house. So that broccoli slaw comes from a bag in Trader Joe's, and there's like broccoli and kale and cranberries and all kinds of deliciousness, and then some leftover chicken. And then what I'm calling a dump salad, this doesn't mean to dump salad, this is what I call a dump salad, meaning it's all these leftovers that I had in my fridge, and I'll put them together over a big bowl of greens and eat it up because it's so delicious and yummy to me. So lunches, easy, breezy, we like to become quick and simple. Dinner, obviously you guys have seen the Greek yogurt trick by now, right? So instead of using sour cream, you can substitute for Greek yogurt. Have you done it? And you haven't accidentally used like strawberry Greek yogurt, right? Plain Greek yogurt. Although I like that, so it might taste good on a baked potato. So obviously, substituting Greek yogurt for sour cream, you can get a little bit more protein that way. So that is a simple and easy trick to do, and we always like to use one pan whenever possible. Throw in any 2 types of vegetables that you want, whatever protein you want, a bunch of different herbs and spices, bake it at 350, literally, no recipe. Like whatever you want to do, whatever's on sale, whatever veggies and protein your family likes is easy enough to throw in there. Desserts. Who likes desserts? I know we must all like desserts because now 2 of us have asked that question. I love dessert. So finding a way to substitute desserts and make them a little bit more healthy, for me, I like bite-sized things. So bite-sized things full of flavor works for me, and especially for a lot of people in our family. So some of our favorites are these coconut cups. Have you ever seen something like this? So what I do is I just get our little mini muffin tin and shredded coconut. So shredded coconut, and you press it down in the little mini muffin tins, that's it. The coconut has such a high fat content that it'll push and press naturally, like it becomes a little liquidy. And bake them at 350 for about 15 to 20 minutes, depending on your oven, and I like them a little bit crispy. Pull them out, remove them from the pan, and let them cool. And then you can fill them with anything you want. So dark chocolate, milk chocolate, white chocolate, whatever you like. Just melt it a little bit, pour it in there, and let it harden. So I put them in the fridge for about 30 minutes, let them harden, you're good to go. So I like minis because I really like to sit and savor and enjoy that one bite. I put everything in the freezer, and then that way it's not as tempting, it's not sitting there on the counter for me. Some people that doesn't work well for because then they have it. So this could be an idea of something that you take to a party or a work event or something, or a potluck. I love that definition, by the way. Not that you made it up, but that's cool. So you can take this with you if that's something that's too tempting to you. Protein truffles. This is kind of a newer on-trend one, or like protein balls. I've been hearing them. I like to call them protein truffles. That sounds more enticing to me. Have you guys seen this? So all it is a half a cup of nut butter. So whichever kind you like. I used peanut butter in this case because I was the only one eating them, so I wasn't worried about allergies. And a serving of chocolate protein powder. Just mix it up really good. Put it in the fridge for 30 minutes so it gets a little hard. Then I got my little cookie scooper out. Do y'all have a cookie scooper? You could use a tablespoon, I suppose. Tablespoon. Roll them. Place it just on a single file in the baking sheet or on a plate. Put it in the freezer. You can dust them in anything you want. So I'll dust them in cocoa powder or use coconut or any kind of nut or sea salt or something. They're really delicious. They end up with about 6 grams of protein or so per truffle. A good amount of calories with the nut butter, so that's something to be aware of or be mindful of. But they're a nice, easy dessert that also gives us some fiber, some chocolate, and some protein. And then the carrot cupcakes, we like to make these a lot, and we use that simple substitution with applesauce. So these are some tried and true baking swaps that you may all be familiar with. Have you ever used black bean puree instead of flour and brownie mix? It's so good, right? You can legit, this is crazy to me, you can buy a store-bought brownie mix, like just the brownie mix. Then you can get a cup of black beans and puree them and just mix those two things together and bake them. They are so good, and it ends up bumping up the fiber, obviously, and saving you calories because you're not adding other things to it. You can substitute, obviously, whole wheat flour for regular flour. You can substitute coconut flour for regular flour, but you have to add a little bit more liquid when you're doing that. So look online for conversions if you're curious to do that. For sugar substitutes, you can use applesauce, or you can use vanilla for sugar if you've ever done that. It just depends on the recipe. It can get a little bit funky, so you gotta be careful. Avocado is not my favorite fat substitution for butter, but some people really like the taste of it and they don't mind it at all. Last year, if you were here, we had avocado dark chocolate pudding, which was pretty good. I just personally don't like that flavor, so I'll use more of a banana to substitute for butter instead of avocado, but you can use avocado as well. And then the newer I would say the newer nutrition trend on the block are the chia seeds. We've all been seeing the chia seed puddings and things like that. So you can actually use chia seeds as a substitute for butter as well. And the instructions are there, 2 to 3 tablespoons of chia seeds plus a cup of water. Let it sit for 15 minutes and then use it in place of 1 cup of butter. So there's always easy tricks that you can do to increase fiber, decrease sugar, decrease fat, or whatever your particular dietary goals are. And snacks, I always like to ask, what is the purpose of the snack? Is it to fill a gap between meals? Are your meal timings going to be too long between breakfast and dinner, so you need a snack to prevent you from being too hungry for dinner? Or is it something that you're just looking for, so an after-school snack or something, let's say? We love making these strawberry skewers. You just skewer a bunch of strawberries, drizzle chocolate or white chocolate on top of them. That one in the middle, the corn nuts. You guys remember corn nuts? I'm not talking about like the peel ones, but you can buy them at the grocery store now. It's just roasted corn, or you can make them yourself, or you can make roasted chickpeas and put any kind of herbs or spices on them. Use a little bit of oil, just stick it in the oven, 400 degrees until they're crispy. Delicious, so easy. And that cheese there is Syrah on the cheese, like Syrah, I don't remember, brine, or I don't know what they call it, but it's amazing. So if you ever see a Syrah crusted cheese of some sort, or espresso, I've seen it too, where they have espresso on the side, so you get the flavor of the espresso and the cheese. It's amazing. And I put a little protein bowl smoothie on there. Those are really fun to make too. You can just make a protein shake as you normally would, but use less fluid and more ice, and that makes a nice little bowl, and it's easy to eat, and they're fun and cute. So, I don't know if you guys know this lady, but her name is Dawn, and she's pretty amazing. She wrote an awesome book, and it is called The Superfood Swap. This next section is dedicated to her philosophy. If you have not got this book, just leave right now. Don't listen to me for the next 5 minutes. Go to the bookstore and buy it, or get on your phone and order it from Amazon or Barnes & Noble. Every time I walk by Barnes & Noble in the cooking section, I get to see her face smiling at me, so I love it. It's an amazing book, and some of the stuff that is contained in it, we're gonna go through next. So the idea is all about swapping things out and enhancing your food instead of taking things away. So if you are somebody who loves sandwiches, you can make it a salad. That's my picture on the right. I go to this one little cafe by my house and they have a club sandwich, but I ask them to make it on a salad. It's so simple. So they just add the club sandwich ingredients on top of a salad. So easy. Open it up. You can use just one slice of bread, opt for sprouted, whole wheat, rye, sourdough, give you a little bit more fiber. Try a veggie base instead of a bread base if you want to omit bread altogether. Has anybody had sweet potato toast yet? Crazy, right? Like you just take a sweet potato, cut it, slice it, so you're getting a piece about this thick, and you can use that as a base for toast, so you can put like an egg on top of it. You can literally toast it in the toaster oven, or you can put it in the oven. Toaster oven though works great. It'll come out a little bit crispy. Obviously the inside stays not soggy, but it's that softer material, so it can be a little bit more challenging to eat, so you have to play with it, play with the density of it. But it works so well to put a poached egg on top, or you could put, I imagine, any type of like tuna salad or something could be interesting. So there's all kinds of ways to play around with it. Pasta swaps, please tell me you've done spaghetti squash by this point in life. It is so simple. I throw my spaghetti squash in the microwave. I poke a few holes in it, put it in the microwave in 2-minute sections. So 2 minutes, flip, 2 minutes, flip, 2 minutes, flip, 2 minutes, flip. It usually takes about 8 minutes. Take it out, let it sit there for a while because it's hot. Cut it open, get the spaghetti out. I paired it with a cream-based sauce, like an Alfredo sauce that I made, which was delicious. You can use whole wheat noodles, you can use rice or chickpea-based noodles. We do that a lot. We use a lot of gluten-free noodles now in my house that actually taste really good. I'm telling you, I do not like gluten-free products, but because of my new environment, I've had to try a lot, and there's some that are actually really good. So if you have a family blending situation like me, keep trying stuff. And zoodles, of course, that's all over the place. And now those are starting to be pre-zoodled for you because I, again, admittedly have never done it because I don't want to buy that cranky machine. Pizza swaps, you can buy cauliflower crusts already made. You can make Parmesan cheese crusts for pizza. So you literally just get shredded Parmesan cheese or shred it yourself, smash it into a little like circle, bake it 350 takes about 5 minutes or so, it gets crispy. Pull it out, put marinara sauce on it, mozzarella, whatever you want, some veggies, put it back in, broil it for a few minutes, and it comes out and that's your whole base. No flour, nothing. This pizza is a gluten-free crust from one of our favorite restaurants that's actually phenomenal. You can use a whole wheat crust or you can use thin crust. Chips, fries, and sides. There's lots of swaps that we can do. Thank you, Dawn, for this beautiful picture and recipe. And again, you have this, you'll have this on the slides that they'll put tomorrow. But there's basically lots of ways that you can substitute, increase your phytonutrients, increase your fiber, increase all of these delicious tasting foods instead of just relying on some of the old standards like chips or fries. Making your own homemade ranch dressing is very easy and delicious. I haven't bought store-bought ranch dressing in a few years now since I discovered this recipe. And then drinks. Of course, drinks is an easy way there's easy ways to enhance your water by adding any types of fruits or vegetables for that matter. And one day I was craving a banana split, so I made a banana split protein shake. That's just vanilla protein powder. I used milk. In this case, I put a few slices of banana, a few slices of strawberry, and 6 dark chocolate chips, blended it up. There you go, voila, that was my banana split. So instead of eating some, 800 calories of banana split, I made it in a shake. It was delicious. And I added real whipped cream on top. So that's my confession for that. So in summary, I think, again, the biggest thing is just to eat what you love, treat your body right, know yourself, understand that you will change, love yourself, respect yourself. All these things that we keep saying, really it all plays a huge role in our complete total health status. It's not just about these little tips and tricks. It's actually implementing them and being understanding of them. So that is the end of our lecture. We have time for questions now. If anybody has anything they are dying to ask, please step up to the mic.
husband on board. My husband is a meat and potatoes and bread kind of guy, and I'm one of the ones that lives in New Orleans and in the South. If it moves slow enough to knock it over the head with something, we're going to batter it and we're going to deep fry it. That's just the way of the South. And I don't want my kids to grow up like that. I want my kids to know that there are more vegetables than green beans and carrots. And fried okra, thank you. Okra doesn't even move, but we bread it and deep fry it.
Sure.
And he busted me on the cauliflower mashed potatoes. And now, whenever I make mashed potatoes, he's trying to smell it out to make sure it's real potatoes. So
what's his health status? Like, is there any reason that he would want to be healthier? Or is that not?
No cholesterol problems, no blood pressure problems, no.
So getting him to buy in, because, yeah. So my quick take on it, I have a 3.5-year-old, and I truly thought that all you had to do to get your kids to eat vegetables is give it to them, and everyone else who said their kids hate vegetables is just like, do try it. And that's not true. So my strategy with her and my husband, because he's like not a vegetable eater, not just me, is I just keep doing it. I keep having them there, I keep eating them, I keep talking about how yummy and delicious they are, and I figure that truly I can only control myself and not always even. So if I do that, it comes, and it has worked with her where she has come a long way because I've been modeling it for her. And so in the end, you really are only responsible for you and modeling it for your kids. So if he keeps eating that way, you can't change him. My food answer would be trying the recipes that are the same types of food. So like the healthier version of the fried chicken, or, you know, in that same category. But again, it's hard.
Now we do cornflake chicken crust and bake it. I don't know if anybody else is on high protein, but it's not going to eat cauliflower, so cauliflower crust on pizza is not a question. But I ground up chicken, and you can buy ground chicken now. You ground up chicken, added some egg, an egg, a cup of Parmesan cheese, a cup of mozzarella cheese, and mixed it all up. And you flatten it out thin on parchment paper, and you cook it. You bake it in the oven, and then after like 15 minutes, you flip it over and you bake it in the oven again. And you put all your pizza toppings on, and basically since the chicken's already cooked, all you're doing is really melting the cheese. And my kids, whenever it's like, okay, it's pizza night, what kind of pizza y'all want? No, we want your pizza, chicken pizza, Mom.
That's good.
No, we're doing pizza night because Mom doesn't feel like cooking.
Yeah.
So
I like taking one thing a week even and having that be the thing that you're getting excited about and doing, and then I really think having the kids help with the prep. We planted a garden this year because my sister's a farmer, and so by we I mean she, and it has been fantastic. Even though Andy will not eat the little cherry tomatoes, she loves just the idea of it. And then I just got a video from my parents back at home with her they're making strawberry jam. They're like, show this at your meeting. I'm like, you just showed me putting 7 cups of sugar in the recipe. I'm not showing that at my meeting, but I like the concept of her participating in the food.
Thank you. I love that chicken pizza idea. You try that.
Yeah.
Hi, I've got a question about the party potluck thing. I'm shy. When I go into a group that I don't know, the buffet is my best friend. And I go through it, and then, I'm sort of always, well, no one wants to talk to me, and I don't really want to talk to anyone else. Back to the buffet. And is there any good strategies you could provide for fighting the hovering around the buffet syndrome?
To me, that's sort of the have something in your hands, like awkwardly needing to do something to fill the time.
You mean like my phone?
I mean, maybe having, like holding the drink, or just, knowing that that's your thing, filling up on what it is that you want the first time, and then physically, like knowing that you have to go away, keep your hands busy. I don't know. I'm a 30 on the extrovert scale, so I'm probably not the one to answer this question. But I would take it as knowing now that you know that's your thing, and that's where you would struggle food-wise. I would think about trying to develop the conversations, or having your go-to person that you talk to, someone even that knows that you're trying to manage your weight, and making them sort of be your accountability partner.
Okay.
I don't know.
Bring somebody, maybe bring them
Yeah.
to the party.
So I was going to ask those venues that are appropriate to bring. Sometimes if it's a work function that's catered by whatever fanciness, and then you show up with your planner, they'll be like, "What are you doing bringing food here?" But if it is just a regular potluck type thing, I think that's a perfect example of bringing something that you've got to fall back on. And then I think a lot of other people, does this sound strange? I think a lot of other people struggle with the same thing. So I think from the conversation standpoint that Nina was saying, of almost kind of challenging yourself to break some of those walls down, that alone can be a conversation. Gosh, I'm really, it's always a struggle when I come to these things to keep things in check with nutrition. That can be an icebreaker, because a lot of people might be the same thing too.
Thank you.
Do you want, I would tackle the behavior, right? So if you're saying, I want to be more social, or you're not, you're saying, I'm shy, I know I'm shy, I'm here because I have to be,
Sorry.
We have time for one more question.
I have a comment and then a question. When my children were young, they could pick 5 things that they absolutely did not like, but never had to touch their mouth. And then anything else they had to take at least 3 bites of. My daughter, now 27, still doesn't like tomatoes, but she thinks they're pretty and she wants to. And I'm sure that before she's 50, she's going to love them because she keeps trying them. But I think that helped develop non-picky eaters, and they swear by that method now that they're parents themselves because they believe that it helped them not be so picky. The next thing, what about hemp seed? Is that kind of comparable to chai, or?
What's the nutrition profile?
It's higher protein, and it is also a good fiber source. So it would just be, I'll look at chia seed or flaxseed or hemp seed. They all function very differently. So the chia is going to form more of that gel, so it makes good things like pudding and stuff like that. The hemp seed won't form as much of a gel. It's a little bit more of a crunchy texture in there. Higher protein than what flaxseed has. So I definitely think it's a good thing to throw into oatmeal or smoothie or baked goods, and it's definitely going to boost your fiber and protein.
I'll add too, for the kid part, if anyone has kids, Ellen Satter has a really great, more than one book, but theory on kids and eating. And actually, I find that the more I'm working as a dietitian and someone with patients who are struggling with their weight, the more stressful it is to be a parent and have a kid who eats, because it's like I hear some things that I say and think, oh my gosh, I'm going to have an eating disorder on my hands, and then I have other things. I'm just always walking that line between overeating, but like I have so many patients who talk to me about the damaging things their parents said and did to them, balancing that with not, like letting them have certain things, but not having too many rules. I think that part's really stressful.
Yeah, we're all in this ride of life together. We're all dealing with the same things and figuring it out. And I think social media can be a beautiful thing when used in appropriate ways, because we can get inspiration and ideas from each other and support. So thank you so much for coming to this talk. It was great to have you all, and go home and make something yummy once you get back in your kitchens, all right?